First, fast, and accurate. News Channel 25, WVTT.
Well, many people throughout Pennsylvania and New York, myself included, woke up to several inches of snow this morning, and the flurries just kept falling throughout the day. Our WVTT meteorologist says we can expect much of the same throughout the week, and temperatures will stay low in the 30s. As you can see here, the temperature is going to be going down a little bit tonight, not too low. It'll be a low of about 26 degrees. And then tomorrow, as the flurries keep coming, light flurries, we'll be seeing about the same temperature as we saw today, around 34 degrees. Well, time to take a look at what's been happening. It's the Twin Tiers Evening News Information Overload.
Global news update on WVTT.
Mississippi State Representative Jessica Upshaw was found dead of an apparent suicide last night. Police were called to a home in Mendenhall, that's south of Jackson, Florida. Local media reports the home belonged to former Mississippi State Representative Clint Rotenberry. The 53-year-old died from a gunshot to the head. That's according to Simpson County Sheriff Kenneth Lewis. Lewis says that gunshot does appear to have been self-inflicted. The Republican lawmaker had served in the legislature since 2004. A public memorial service will be held today for Colorado's prison chief Tom Clements. He was laid to rest Sunday in a private funeral. Clements was shot to death last week as he answered the door at his home. A former prison inmate killed in a shootout with Texas authorities last Thursday is the suspect in Clements' death. 28-year-old Evan Spencer Ebel was a member of a white supremacist prison gang in Colorado. Investigators are looking into the possibilities that he may have conspired with other inmates to kill Clements. Ebel is also a suspect in the death of a pizza delivery driver. Police are applauding the courage of a little girl in the aftermath of a crash in Southern California. They say she trekked through rough terrain and even climbed a cliff to get help for her father, who ultimately did not survive. Authorities say the father lost control of his SUV on Sierra Highway early Sunday morning. It went tumbling down 200 feet into a canyon and then landed at the bottom of a ravine. Police explain what happened next.
Remarkably so, the young lady was 9 years old, and she survived the collision. She noticed that her father was unresponsive, and so she felt compelled to go try to render aid for him.
Police say the girl walked in nearly pitch-black surroundings along difficult terrain. She went to a nearby house, but when nobody came to the door, she returned to the scene to check on her dad, who was still unconscious. She then scaled the steep cliff to get up to the highway. She walked about a mile and then stopped someone to help. The girl was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Police say they are still investigating the crash. Will the European Union and Cyprus come to an agreement on a bailout for the struggling nation? The deal came early today after failed negotiations last week. Deposits of less than 100,000 euros will be protected under the new deal. That could mean bigger losses for wealthier account holders at the two biggest banks, the Bank of Cyprus and the Popular Bank of Cyprus. Economist Raul Ruparel weighs in on whether this deal is better than last week's plan.
Smaller depositors have been protected, and that was a key point, and that, I think, is what drove the most political outrage in Cyprus. But there are big questions about how this will impact standard of living and the economy in the long term in Cyprus. It's hard to see where growth will come from.
Ruparel says the bailout equates to about 60% of Cyprus's GDP. Without the deal, the tiny country risked financial collapse and almost certain exit from the Eurozone. A teen from Oregon is celebrating after becoming the first person with Down syndrome to climb to the base camp of Mount Everest. 15-year-old Eli Reamer and his father Justin made the climb to raise money and awareness for disabled children, and they shared this video of their adventure. The father says when everyone else was dragging, his son led the way to base camp. The milestone came just before World Down Syndrome Day, which was Thursday of last week. The father and son are now back in the States. They arrived from Nepal Friday night to find a crowd of supporters waiting for them at Los Angeles International Airport. Well, someone in New Jersey is going to be really, really rich, and we're going to find out their identity today. That's right, someone bought a winning ticket for Saturday night's $338 million Powerball jackpot. KYW-TV reports it was sold at this convenience store in Bordentown. It's Love's Travel Store at 2008 US 206. Lottery officials have scheduled a 10 a.m. news conference to reveal the winner, and the ticket matched all 6 numbers drawn. Those were 17, 29, 31, 52, 53, and 31. The lottery is held in 42 states, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia. Tom Klein, the attorney for one of the alleged Sandusky victims, is speaking out about the cause of the problem.
Nothing Mr. Sandusky says or doesn't say is going to affect the civil lawsuits, in my opinion. He is a convicted felon, and in fact, Mr. Paterno's family and Mr. Paterno back when blamed Mr. Sandusky. Penn State blames Mr. Sandusky. Everyone believes that he is the root cause of this problem. There's no controversy about that. The only issue remaining is Penn State's complicity. Penn State's enabling Mr. Sandusky to do what he did. That's what's on the table in these civil cases.
Well, guns and ammo are selling briskly these days. That means weapon makers are hiring. Some manufacturers are scrambling to find enough workers. One expert says the industry employs around 240,000 people nationwide, and an analyst notes that many of the new jobs are contract temporary jobs, since the companies don't know how long the surge in demand will last. Well, time now for Wall Street Wrap-Up.
WVTT Wall Street Wrap-Up.
It was a down day on Wall Street. Dow went down almost 65 points to close at 14,448. NASDAQ went down around 10 points to close at 3,235, close to 3,236, and the S&P 500 went down a little over 5 points to close at 1,552. We'll have sports coming up next, the St. Bonaventure Corner, and of course, the full weather details. Stay tuned. This is Twin Tiers Evening News.